AITA for not being devastated my ex and my BFF are together? Hey Reddit, long-time lurker, first-time poster. Buckle up because this is something. So, for context, I'm Elara, 27F. I work as a graphic designer, live in a cute little apartment I can comfortably afford, and have a pretty solid life. My family, Mom, Brenda, Dad, Gary, and my younger brother, Finn, they're your typical loving, slightly overbearing, middle-class bunch. They're my rock. Now, the drama. My ex, Caspian, 28M, and I dated for about 2 years. It was a decent relationship, nothing earth-shattering, but we were comfortable. We broke up about 6 months ago. It wasn't a messy breakup, more of a mutual realization that we wanted different things. We stayed vaguely friendly, the polite like on Instagram here and there. My best friend, Serafina, 27F, has been my ride or die since college. We've been through everything together. Bad haircuts, questionable dating choices, mine included, obviously, and countless late-night talks fueled by cheap wine. Fast forward to last week. Serafina calls me, her voice tight. Elara, we need to talk. My stomach dropped. Usually, that phrase precedes some kind of existential crisis or a particularly disastrous date. We meet for coffee, and she's visibly nervous. After a lot of hemming and hawing, she drops the bomb. She and Caspian are together. Like together, dating, holding hands in public, the whole shebang. My initial reaction? Honestly? A shrug. Okay, I said, sipping my latte. Serafina looked like I just sprouted a second head. Okay, that's it. Elara, this is Caspian. You're Caspian. He was my Caspian, I corrected gently. 6 months ago. We broke up, remember? Then Caspian chimed in, because apparently he was lurking nearby. Romantic, right? He looked equally bewildered. Yeah, Elara, aren't you upset? I blinked at them both. Why would I be upset? You're both adults. You're free to date whoever you want. I'm not still pining over Caspian, and Serafina, you don't need my permission to date someone. This did not go over well. Serafina started talking about girl code and how she felt weird not getting my blessing. Caspian mumbled something about how he thought I'd be more invested in his romantic life. Invested? In his romantic life? With my best friend? I tried to explain that I genuinely wasn't bothered. Caspian and I had run our course. Serafina and I are still best friends, and if they're happy, then good for them. It's not like they blindsided me while we were still together, but they're both acting like I'm some kind of emotionless robot. Serafina keeps sending me these long, apologetic texts, and Caspian even called my brother Finn to ask if I was acting normal. Finn laughed at him and told him to kick rocks. Now, they're both giving me the cold shoulder, acting like I'm the one who did something wrong. They seem genuinely upset that I'm not upset. So, Reddit, AITA for not being heartbroken that my ex and my best friend are dating? Should I be putting on a dramatic show of devastation for their benefit? Honestly, I'm just trying to live my life, and their relationship, while unexpected, doesn't affect me. TLDR, my ex-boyfriend and my best friend are now dating, and they're both weirdly upset that I'm not more bothered by it. ETA, just to clarify, there was no overlap. Caspian and I were broken up for a significant amount of time before he and Serafina got together. Also, Serafina did tell me before they went public, so it wasn't like I found out through social media or anything. They just seemed to have expected a bigger reaction from me. Update 1. Hey everyone, thanks for the overwhelming response to my original post. I honestly didn't expect so many people to weigh in. It's been interesting. A few things have happened since I last posted. First off, a lot of you suggested that maybe Serafina was feeling guilty or unsure about the situation, and that's why she was expecting a bigger reaction from me. I think there might be some truth to that. She called me a couple of days after my post. She sounded a little hesitant. Elara, she started, I really value your friendship, and I didn't want to hurt you. I reiterated that I wasn't hurt. I told her that our friendship means a lot to me too, and that if she's happy with Caspian, then I genuinely am happy for her. I try to sound as sincere as possible, and I think it might have finally started to sink in. But, don't you feel anything? She asked, a hint of desperation in her voice. Like, even a little weirded out? Serafina, I said gently, Of course, it's a little unexpected. You're my best friend. You was my boyfriend. It's not the most common scenario. But weird doesn't automatically equal bad or upsetting. I moved on, you moved on, you moved on. It's life. I think that conversation helped a bit. She sounded a little less anxious by the end of it. Caspian, on the other hand, is still perplexing. He actually sent me a text message yesterday that read, "Are you sure you're not just, suppressing your feelings? Maybe you need to talk it out?" I replied with a simple nope. All good here, Cass. He then sent a string of increasingly concerned emojis. I just left him on read. Honestly, his insistence on me being upset is starting to feel a little self-serving. Like, he wants me to be jealous or heartbroken so he can feel validated. I don't know. The weirdest part is that they're now both acting like they need my approval for their relationship to be legitimate. It's bizarre. I'm not the gatekeeper of their happiness. My family, as always, has been a source of amusement and support. Finn keeps making jokes about how Caspian has traded down to my superior genes. My mom just wants everyone to be happy and keeps reminding me to be the bigger person, which in this case seems to mean don't let them get to you or make you upset. So where do things stand now? Serafina seems to be slowly accepting that I'm genuinely okay with this. Caspian is still a bit of a question mark, but I'm not going to bend over backward to manufacture some kind of emotional turmoil for his benefit. I'm focusing on my work, spending time with Finn, who is currently obsessed with learning to bake sourdough, and trying to enjoy the surprisingly pleasant spring weather. Thanks again for all your comments on the original post. It was helpful to get some outside perspectives. I'll update again if anything dramatic happens. Update 2. Hey Reddit, back again with another update on the saga of my unbothered existence in the face of my ex and best friend's blossoming romance. Things have taken a slightly theatrical turn. After my last update, Serafina seemed to be genuinely trying to respect my feelings, or lack thereof. We had a couple of normal, friend-like conversations, talking about work and silly things, and it felt like the awkward cloud was starting to dissipate. Caspian, however, remained a persistent enigma. He kept sending me articles about the stages of grief, and even a BuzzFeed quiz titled, "Are you secretly repressing your true feelings?" I ignored them all. Then came the weekend. Serafina invited me to a small get-together at her place. She said it was just a few friends, a casual Saturday night thing. I hesitated, but ultimately decided to go. I didn't want to let their relationship completely derail my friendships. When I arrived, it was indeed a small gathering. A few familiar faces, some of Serafina's other friends, and Caspian, looking like he was bracing for a therapy session. The evening started off okay. Polite small talk, some laughs. But then, after a couple of hours, Serafina pulled me aside. "Elara," she said, her voice low and serious. "Caspian and I have been talking, and we're worried about you." "Worried about me?" I raised an eyebrow. "I'm perfectly fine." "But are you really?" Caspian interjected, appearing suddenly at her side. He looked genuinely concerned, like I was a fragile porcelain doll about to shatter. "You haven't said a single negative thing about us being together." "It's unnatural." "Unnatural," I repeated, trying to keep the incredulity out of my voice. "Is there a rule book I missed that dictates I need to be weeping and gnashing my teeth because my ex is dating my friend?" Serafina sighed. "It's just that, usually, in these situations, there's some kind of drama. Hurt feelings, jealousy. We just want to make sure you're not bottling anything up." This was starting to feel less like concern and more like they were disappointed in my lack of dramatic reaction. "Look," I said, trying to be as clear as possible. "Caspian and I broke up because we weren't the right fit for each other. That was 6 months ago. I moved on. You two seem happy, and honestly, that's all that matters. I value our friendship, Serafina, and I don't want this to come between us. But I'm not going to manufacture sadness or anger just to make you both feel better about your relationship." Caspian then did something truly bizarre. He actually reached out and touched my arm. "Elara," he said, "maybe you just need to process it. We can talk about it. We can all talk about it." I gently removed his hand. "There's nothing to process, Caspian. We broke up. You're dating Serafina. I'm existing happily in my own life. End of story." I also told Caspian that if he touches me again or keeps bothering me to make himself feel better, I will call the police. I told Serafina that I value the friendship, but her insecurities weren't my problem, and she needs to control her man, or I'm going to cut her off too. The rest of the evening was awkward. They kept shooting me these worried glances like I was a ticking time bomb of suppressed emotions. I ended up leaving a little earlier than planned. The next day, I got a long text from Serafina. She apologized if they came across as pushy, but said they were just trying to be good friends. I replied, telling her she wasn't being a good friend at all. She comes off as annoying and bothersome. I told her that what she and Caspian pulled was disgusting and causing unnecessary drama. I then told her that I was okay and I was happy for her, but her actions are starting to affect this friendship and not in a good way. Honestly, at this point, I'm starting to wonder if they're the ones who aren't entirely secure in their relationship and need my dramatic disapproval to somehow validate it. It's a weird reverse psychology situation I never anticipated. Update 3. Final update. All right, Reddit, this is the final update on the saga of my seemingly undramatic life. Things have resolved themselves, though perhaps not in the way anyone expected. After the awkward get-together, I decided I needed some space from both Serafina and Caspian. Their insistence on me being secretly miserable was becoming exhausting and, frankly, a little insulting. It felt like they weren't respecting my feelings at all. I sent Serafina a text saying I needed a little time to myself and would reach out when I was ready. She replied with a somewhat dramatic, "Okay, but I'm here if you need anything," which I mostly ignored. Caspian didn't text at all, which, honestly, was a relief. I spent the next week focusing on work and spending time with my family. Finn and I had a surprisingly successful attempt at making croissants. They were a little lopsided, but tasted amazing. My mom kept sending me supportive memes about moving on and not letting anyone dim my sparkle. It was exactly what I needed. Then, out of the blue, I got a call from Serafina. Her voice was different, not anxious or worried, but almost sheepish. "Elara," she started, "can we talk? Seriously talk?" I agreed, and we met for coffee again at the same place as the initial bomb drop. This time, though, the atmosphere was completely different. Serafina looked tired and a little deflated. "So," she began, fiddling with her cup, "Caspian and we broke up." My first reaction was surprise, but honestly, not much else. "Oh," I said, "I'm sorry to hear that." She looked up at me, a sad smile on her face. "You're not surprised, are you?" I shrugged. "Honestly, not really." The whole situation felt a little intense. Then, she said something that made me understand a lot of their weird behavior. "He kept comparing me to you, Elara. Not in a bad way, exactly, but he'd talk about how you handled certain situations, or how you like your coffee, or your sense of humor. It was like he was trying to recreate something he had with you, but with me, and it wasn't fair to either of us." She went on to explain that their entire relationship had been somewhat overshadowed by the ghost of my past relationship with Caspian. My lack of a dramatic reaction had, ironically, made him even more focused on what he perceived as my true feelings, which in turn put a strain on their new relationship. He kept asking me if I thought you were secretly upset, Serafina admitted. He was so fixated on it that it started making me doubt things. It felt like he wasn't fully present with me. Apparently, their breakup wasn't dramatic. It was more of a slow realization that they weren't building something new, but rather trying to recapture something old and gone. We talked for a long time. Serafina apologized for how she and Caspian had acted, admitting that their focus on my reaction had been a way to avoid looking at the cracks in their dynamic. I, in turn, told her that I valued our friendship and was glad she was doing what was best for herself. Caspian hasn't reached out, and honestly, I don't expect him to. It seems the drama I wasn't providing inadvertently became the drama in their relationship. My lack of reaction, while unexpected, was genuine. It seems their focus on my non-reaction ultimately highlighted their issues. Serafina and I are taking things slow, but it feels like we can finally go back to being just friends. It's a little strange, but I'm optimistic. Thanks for following along on this bizarre little journey. Sometimes, the lack of drama is the most dramatic thing of all.